Excuse me, can I help you?
No, I live here. Just moved in last week.
Really? You sure you got the right house?
Pretty sure my name's on the mortgage.
I'm calling the police. You look suspicious.
You mean I look black?
Maybe?
Well, then you got police chief with you and you're in big trouble.
Jennifer Morrison had lived in the Glendale Arms for 6 years when she confronted a black man in the hallway and destroyed her own life. She was 38 years old, blonde, worked as a regional sales manager for a pharmaceutical company, and considered herself the unofficial eyes and ears of the fourth floor. One Tuesday evening in May, she saw a black man unlocking the apartment next to hers and decided he must be breaking in. The man was Chief Marcus Thompson, the 43-year-old newly appointed Boston police chief who had just signed a 12-month lease for apartment 412 and was moving in his belongings. Despite Thompson showing his badge and explaining he was the new tenant, Morrison called 911 anyway. The entire confrontation was captured on the building's hallway. CCTV camera went viral within hours and cost Morrison her job, her lease, and $120,000 in a defamation lawsuit. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Stories like these need to be shared, and your support helps us bring more truth to light. The Glendale Arms is a 1970s brick building in Boston's Back Bay neighborhood. 7 stories, no doorman, coin laundry in the basement, radiator heat that clanks at night, the kind of building where young professionals live before they can afford newer construction, where rent is reasonable by Boston standards, where the elevator sometimes doesn't work but management eventually fixes it. 2-bedroom units like Thompson's rent for $2,800 per month, not cheap, but not outrageous either. The building attracts teachers, nurses, city employees, people with decent jobs who don't need granite countertops and floor-to-ceiling windows. The hallways are narrow with outdated wallpaper and flickering fluorescent lights. Each floor has one CCTV camera positioned at the elevator end, installed 5 years ago after a package theft problem. The footage is grainy, the angle isn't perfect, but it captures enough. It was 6:15 p.m. on a Tuesday in May. Warm evening, people coming home from work with takeout bags and briefcases, the building settling into its usual evening rhythm of muffled TV sounds and cooking smells drifting under doors. Marcus Thompson was 43 years old. He'd been in law enforcement for 22 years, working his way up through the ranks with determination and skill. 4 months ago, he'd been appointed chief of police for the city of Boston, a career-defining achievement, the first black chief in the department's history, appointed after a national search that brought candidates from across the country. Thompson had earned it. He'd reformed the gang unit as a lieutenant, reduced use of force incidents as deputy chief, built community trust through transparency. The mayor had personally called him, the city council voted unanimously, and the police union, despite their usual resistance to outsiders, had supported him after meeting him. He was qualified, he'd worked for this, he deserved the position. When Thompson accepted the job, he'd been renting a house in Quincy, 40 minutes south of Boston. But the chief's job meant unpredictable hours, late-night emergencies, early morning press conferences, community meetings across the city. The commute wasn't sustainable. His wife had died from breast cancer 2 years earlier. His daughter Maya was a sophomore at Howard University in DC. He was alone, working 70 to 80-hour weeks, sleeping at the office too often. He needed to be closer to work. He found the Glendale Arms through a colleague. Old building, nothing fancy, but clean and close to headquarters. Unit 412, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, galley kitchen, hardwood floors that creaked. The second bedroom would be Maya's when she visited during breaks, listed at $2,800 per month. He filled out the application, passed the background check instantly, paid first month, last month, and security deposit. $8,400 total. The lease was in his name. Management knew he was the police chief. His profession was right there on the application. Everything was official, documented, legal. That Tuesday was move-in day. Thompson had hired 2 guys with a truck for the furniture bed, couch, desk, dining table, but the personal items he was handling himself, boxes of clothes, kitchen stuff, books, his wife's photo albums he couldn't throw away, Maya's childhood drawings he'd saved. He wore faded jeans and an old Boston Marathon sweatshirt from 2012. His badge was clipped to his belt out of habit even off duty. He kept it on him. His service weapon was locked in his car's glove box. He'd been hauling boxes for 90 minutes, sweating despite the cool evening, tired but focused on getting settled before tomorrow's budget meeting with the mayor. Just a man moving into his apartment. Nothing unusual, nothing suspicious, just living his life. but his new neighbor had been watching through her peephole since 5:45, and she'd already decided something was wrong. Do you think neighbors who racially profile residents should lose their leases? Drop your answer below. Jennifer Morrison lived in Unit 414, directly next to Thompson's new apartment. She'd lived there for 6 years, longer than almost anyone on the floor, and she developed strong opinions about who belonged in the Glendale Arms. She was 38, blonde hair she touched up every 6 weeks at a salon in Brookline, worked as a regional sales manager for a mid-sized pharmaceutical company. Good job, not great. Made $78,000 a year, drove a leased Honda Accord, took 1 vacation per year, solidly middle class, comfortable, but always aware she could slip. Jennifer had reported neighbors before. The college students in 410 who partied on weeknights, she'd called management 4 times until they were evicted. The Indian family in 408 whose cooking smells she complained about management told her that wasn't a valid complaint. The delivery guy she confronted in the hallway, demanding to know which apartment he was going to, turned out he lived in the building. Management tolerated her complaints, but privately considered her a problem tenant. The property manager had notes in her file: overly vigilant, prone to reporting non-issues, handled diplomatically. That Tuesday, Jennifer had gotten home at 5:45, noticed the moving activity, and instead of going fully into her apartment, she'd stood at her door with the peephole open, watching. At 6:12 p.m., the hallway CCTV captured Thompson exiting the elevator. The footage is grainy but clear enough. Black man, early 40s, athletic build, sweatshirt and jeans, carrying a medium-sized cardboard box with Maya's room written on the side in marker. He walked down the hallway, the camera angle catches him from the side, stopped at Unit 412, balanced the box against the wall, pulled keys from his pocket, unlocked the door, pushed it open with his shoulder, carried the box inside. Normal tenant behavior. Legal resident using his keys to access his apartment. But Jennifer, eye pressed to her peephole, saw a black man entering the apartment that had been empty for 3 weeks, and her mind went immediately to crime. She watched for 23 minutes. The timestamp on the CCTV shows Thompson making 4 more trips: 6:16, 6:22, 6:31, 6:35. Each time, elevator, hallway, keys, door, inside, each time carrying different boxes, once carrying a lamp, once carrying a duffel bag. Each trip captured on camera, each trip completely normal. But Jennifer's mental narrative had already formed. Black man, repeated access to apartment, must be robbing it. Maybe he's part of a moving crew, stealing furniture. Maybe he picked the lock and copied keys. Maybe management rented to him by mistake. Whatever the explanation, in Jennifer's mind, he didn't belong. At 6:38 p.m., the CCTV captures what happens next. Jennifer opens her door and steps into the hallway just as Thompson is walking toward the elevator for another trip. The camera angle shows both of them clearly. Jennifer in black yoga pants and a gray tank top, blonde ponytail, phone already in her hand. Thompson in his sweatshirt and jeans, empty-handed, heading back for more boxes, keys jingling in his hand, badge visible on his belt. The CCTV has no audio, but forensic lip readers would later transcribe the entire conversation from the footage. The body language tells most of the story anyway. Jennifer blocks his path to the elevator. Her posture is aggressive, shoulders forward, chin up, phone raised. "Excuse me, can I help you?" Thompson stops. The footage shows his expression tired, wary, already recognizing the situation. He's been here before. "No, I live here, just moved in last week." Jennifer's face shows pure skepticism. She looks him up and down, eyes lingering on his jeans, his sweatshirt, his skin. "Really? You sure you've got the right apartment?" Thompson's shoulders drop slightly. The camera captures his exhaustion. Not physical exhaustion from moving boxes, the deeper exhaustion of being questioned, in places you have every right to be. "Pretty sure? My name's on the lease." Jennifer raises her phone. The camera shows her finger moving across the screen, pulling up the keypad. "I'm calling the police, you look suspicious." Thompson closes his eyes briefly, takes a slow breath. The camera captures his jaw tightening, his hands flexing at his sides. "You mean I look black?" Jennifer's face on the CCTV shows a flicker of something caught, defensive, but not backing down. Her mouth opens, closes, opens again. "Maybe." Thompson unclips his badge from his belt. The camera angle isn't perfect, but you can see him hold it up. See the gold catching the fluorescent hallway light. See his mouth moving as he speaks. "Well, then you have got police chief with you, and you're in big troubles." The badge is visible on the footage, not perfectly clear due to the camera quality, but clear enough to see it's an official police badge. Clear enough to see Thompson holding it at eye level for Jennifer to examine. Jennifer's reaction is captured in perfect detail. Her face goes white. Her mouth forms a small O. Her phone is still in her hand, finger frozen over the 9. The footage shows her standing completely still for 4 full seconds, processing what just happened. She'd just threatened to call the police on the police chief. She'd racially profiled the most powerful person in Boston law enforcement. She'd accused her new neighbor of burglary when he was the one person in the city with the authority to arrest her for filing a false report. This is where the CCTV becomes undeniable evidence. Every moment captured, every expression documented, no audio needed, the visual story is complete. Jennifer's aggressive confrontation, Thompson's patient explanations, his badge reveal, her shock, all time-stamped, all recorded, all preserved. Should apartment buildings use CCTV footage to investigate racial profiling complaints? Let me know what you think. The footage continues, shows Jennifer backing up, her free hand going to her mouth, shows Thompson clipping his badge back to his belt, picking up where he left off, walking to the elevator. Shows Jennifer standing in the hallway for 42 seconds after Thompson gets on the elevator, staring at nothing, phone still in her hand. Then the elevator returns. Thompson walks back down the hallway carrying another box, doesn't look at Jennifer, unlocks his door, goes inside. Jennifer hurries back into her apartment. The door closes. The hallway is empty. Timestamp 6:41 p.m. At 6:43 p.m., exactly 2 minutes after seeing Thompson's badge and learning he's the police chief, Jennifer called 911. The call recording was later released under public records law. Hi, I'm at the Glendale Arms on Commonwealth Avenue, apartment 414. There's a man next door who showed me a police badge, but I don't think it's real. I think he might be impersonating an officer to rob the apartment. He's black, and he's been going in and out with boxes. The dispatcher's voice shows barely concealed frustration. Ma'am, you're reporting someone for showing you a police badge? Anyone can buy a fake badge. He doesn't look like a police officer. What does a police officer look like, ma'am? Not like him. Can you describe what he's doing that's illegal? Using keys to go into the apartment next to mine. So he has keys to the apartment. Yes, but ma'am, if he has keys and he's moving boxes, he's likely a legal tenant. What specifically makes you believe he's committing a crime? Long pause. Then quieter. He just looks suspicious. The dispatcher sighed. I'll send a unit to check. The call was dispatched. Welfare check requested at the Glendale Arms, apartment 412. Caller reports concerns about new tenant, claims suspicious activity. Possible racial profiling situation handled with care. 2 officers responded. Both of them, by terrible coincidence, were officers who worked directly under Chief Thompson's command. They arrived at 6:58 p.m. Building security let them in, no doorman, but there's a super in the basement office who monitors a panel showing all the CCTV feeds. The super had watched the hallway confrontation live and told the officers exactly what happened. That's the new police chief in 412. Blonde lady in 414 harassed him, called you guys after he showed her his badge. The officers looked at each other. This was about to be the most awkward welfare check of their careers. They took the elevator to the 4th floor, walked down the hallway past the CCTV camera, and knocked on unit 412. Thompson answered, still in his sweatshirt, badge on his belt, keys in hand, stack of unpacked boxes visible behind him. Officer Sarah Martinez tried to keep her voice professional despite her horror at the situation. Chief Thompson? Martinez? Walsh, what brings you to my new apartment? Officer Kevin Walsh looked like he wanted the floor to open up and swallow him. Sir, we got a call. Someone reported suspicious activity at this address. Thompson leaned against the doorframe. Let me guess. Blonde woman, unit 414, called after I showed her my badge and told her I'm the police chief. The call mentioned someone with a possibly fake badge, sir. My badge is real, Walsh. I'm the chief. I signed a lease here 3 weeks ago. Moved in today. My neighbor saw me carrying boxes and decided I must be robbing the place. I showed her my badge. She called 911 anyway. Martinez looked at the badge on his belt, at the keys in his hand, at the Massachusetts driver's license he pulled out showing this address, at the lease agreement he produced from a box labeled Important Docs. Chief, this is, I don't even know what to say. I'm sorry. Not your fault. You responded to a call. I appreciate that. But I want this documented. I want the 911 call recording preserved. I want the CCTV footage from this hallway pulled and saved. And I want building management notified about the false report and the racial profiling. Absolutely, sir. We'll handle all of that. Jennifer's door cracked open. She peered out, saw 2 uniformed officers talking with Thompson, and the reality of what she'd done hit her fully. Walsh walked to her door. "Ma'am, are you Jennifer Morrison?" "Yes." Her voice was small. "You called 911? I thought..." "You thought what, ma'am?" "You saw Chief Thompson, the Boston police chief, moving into his own apartment with keys and a lease, and you thought he was burglarizing it?" "I didn't know he was the chief." "Did you see his badge when he showed it to you?" The hallway CCTV captured everything. Jennifer's face crumpled. "Yes, but I thought maybe it was fake." "Why would you think it was fake?" She didn't answer, because there was no good answer. The only honest answer was, "I thought it was fake because he's black, and I couldn't imagine a black man being the police chief." Martinez's voice was cold. "Ma'am, filing a false police report is a crime. Racially profiling a tenant violates fair housing laws. Chief Thompson will decide whether to pursue charges. I strongly suggest you consult an attorney." Jennifer's door closed. The officers could hear her crying inside. Why do some people see black people in regular apartment buildings and assume they don't belong? Comment your thoughts. By 8 p.m., Thompson had requested the CCTV footage through his department's legal team. By 9 p.m., his attorney had it. By 11 p.m., someone in the building super angry about Jennifer's history of complaints had leaked it to Twitter. By morning, it was everywhere. The footage spread like wildfire. Grainy, but clear enough. Blonde woman confronting black man in shabby hallway. Him showing badge. Her calling 911 anyway. Body language telling the whole story. Boston police chief, racially profiled by white neighbor while moving into his own apartment. CCTV captures white woman calling police on black police chief after seeing his badge. Video shows blonde neighbor filing false report about Boston's first black police chief. The outrage was immediate. The NAACP demanded prosecution. Boston's mayor issued a statement supporting Thompson and condemning racial profiling. The police union condemned false reports. Housing rights organizations called for Jennifer's eviction. Jennifer Morrison's life imploded within 48 hours. Her face from the CCTV footage was everywhere, grainy but recognizable, blonde ponytail visible, aggressive posture clear. People identified her, found her LinkedIn, found her employer, found her history of complaints at the Glendale Arms. Her pharmaceutical company placed her on administrative leave within 24 hours. Their investigation was swift. Employee racially profiles police chief, files false police report, becomes national symbol of racism. She was fired by Friday. Our company values diversity and inclusion. Ms. Morrison's actions do not reflect our values. Her employment has been terminated. The Glendale Arms management met with Thompson, apologized profusely, offered to terminate Jennifer's lease immediately. Thompson said that was management's decision, but he wanted the incident fully documented, and he wanted assurance it wouldn't happen again. Jennifer hired an attorney and issued a public apology. "I made a terrible error in judgment based on unconscious bias. I sincerely apologize to Chief Thompson for the harm I caused. I am seeking counseling to address my prejudices and understand why I reacted the way I did. But apologies don't undo harm, and the CCTV footage made denial impossible. Everyone could see exactly what happened. No audio needed. The visuals told the complete story." Thompson filed a civil lawsuit against Jennifer Morrison for defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and violation of the Fair Housing Act. The lawsuit sought $120,000. Jennifer's attorney reviewed the evidence, CCTV footage with timestamps, 911 recording, police reports, witness statements from the building super, Thompson's lease agreement. There was no defense. The footage was damning. The call recording was worse. She'd profiled the police chief, and it was all documented. They settled within 5 months, $120,000 paid to Thompson. Plus, Jennifer was required to complete 100 hours of racial bias education and community service with organizations serving communities of color. But the financial settlement was the least of Jennifer's consequences. She lost her job, $78,000 a year, gone. She couldn't find comparable work. Every company that Googled her name found the CCTV footage. She had to break her lease at the Glendale Arms and move out. Building management didn't force her out, but the other tenants made it clear she wasn't welcome. She left Boston entirely, moved back to her hometown in Ohio, started over with a retail job making a third of what she used to earn. Meanwhile, Thompson settled into apartment 412 at the Glendale Arms. His other neighbors were welcoming some, apologized for Jennifer's behavior, others brought him coffee or offered to help unpack. Most just treated him normally, which was all he'd wanted. His daughter Maya visited from Howard for Thanksgiving and loved having her own room in the city. Thompson walked to work when weather permitted 22 minutes door to door. The radiators clanked at night, but he got used to it. The building was nothing special, but it was home. Should people who file false police reports based on racial profiling face mandatory prosecution? Drop your answer. Thompson gave several interviews about the incident. In one, they played the CCTV footage on a screen behind him as he spoke. "I'm 43 years old. I've been a police officer for 22 years. I'm the police chief of a major American city. I signed a lease, passed a background check, paid $8,400 up front to move into a regular apartment building. And my neighbor saw me unlocking my door with my own keys and called 911. He gestured to the footage. "You can see it all. I'm carrying boxes with my daughter's name on them. I'm using keys. I'm wearing an old Marathon sweatshirt. My badge is on my belt." And she still thought I was a criminal. She saw a black man and couldn't imagine any legitimate reason I'd be there. He paused. "I showed her my badge, police chief, Boston Police Department, and she called 911 anyway. Not because she couldn't see the badge the CCTV shows me holding it right in front of her, but because she couldn't believe it was real. She couldn't accept that I'd earned this position. She couldn't imagine a black man being the chief." Another pause. "The CCTV footage is grainy. The hallway is ugly with flickering lights and old wallpaper. It's not a fancy building, it's a regular place where regular people live. And that's exactly why this matters. This isn't about luxury buildings or wealthy neighborhoods. This is about everyday racism in everyday places. This is about black people being questioned in spaces where we have every right to be, simply because someone can't imagine we belong." He looked directly at the camera. "If this can happen to me, the police chief, with a badge on my belt and keys in my hand, what happens to black people without badges, without positions of authority, without resources to fight back? How many people are profiled, reported, harassed in their own buildings, their own hallways, their own homes?" The interview resonated deeply. The CCTV footage played millions of times, not because it was high quality, but because it was so ordinary. Shabby hallway, flickering lights, tired man moving boxes, blonde neighbor on her phone. The mundane setting made the racism more visceral, more recognizable, more real. Boston held community forums. The police department implemented new protocols for responding to suspected racial profiling calls. Apartment buildings across the city reviewed their tenant complaint policies. Property management companies discussed how to handle residents who repeatedly file questionable reports. But Jennifer Morrison never truly reckoned with what she'd done. Her apology was corporate speak written by lawyers. She disappeared from public view, rebuilt her life elsewhere, and, as far as anyone knows, never genuinely examined why she saw a black man with keys and a badge and still called the police. Thompson still lives at the Glendale Arms, still Boston's police chief, still walks to work when he can. His neighbors know him now. He's just the chief in 412 who's quiet and keeps to himself and whose daughter visits on holidays. But he says he's aware, always, that some people look at him and see a threat before they see his badge, his work, his humanity. Even in his own hallway, even carrying boxes with his daughter's name written in marker, even with keys in his hand and every right to be there. Should apartment buildings automatically evict tenants who racially profile their neighbors? Let me know in the comments. This wasn't about a misunderstanding. This was about a black man succeeding and being punished for it by someone who couldn't accept his success. Marcus Thompson worked 22 years to become police chief. He earned it through competence, integrity, and dedication. He rented an apartment he could afford in a building where he wanted to live. Jennifer Morrison saw him and called 911. Not because he was breaking in, he had keys. Not because he was stealing, he was carrying his own belongings. Not because he was threatening, he was moving boxes. But because he was black in a space where she couldn't imagine black people belonged, even after seeing his badge. Even after he identified himself as the police chief. Even after every possible piece of evidence proved he was the legal tenant, she still called 911 because her racism was stronger than facts, stronger than logic, stronger than a badge held in front of her face. The CCTV footage captured it all. Every moment of her aggression, every moment of his patience. The badge reveal, her call anyway. Undeniable visual evidence of racial profiling in a shabby hallway with bad lighting and old wallpaper. Proof that racism doesn't just happen in fancy places, it happens everywhere. To everyone, even to people with badges and authority. Jennifer lost her job, lost her home, paid $120,000, became nationally known as a racist, caught on camera. But consequences don't undo harm. They don't change the fact that Thompson was racially profiled in his own hallway on his moving day. They don't erase the exhaustion of being questioned when you have every right to be somewhere. They don't restore the simple dignity of unlocking your door without being treated as a threat. The question is, what changes? Do people examine their biases before confronting neighbors? Do buildings hold tenants accountable? Do we create consequences that actually deter racial profiling? Because if we don't address the culture that taught Jennifer to see a black man with keys and call it suspicious, then we're just waiting for the next CCTV camera to capture the next confrontation in the next hallway with the next black person criminalized for existing. Comment if you believe filing false police reports based on racial profiling should carry mandatory jail time. And if you think these stories matter, hit that subscribe button. We're exposing these patterns caught on camera. We're demanding better. We're fighting for black people who deserve to live without being criminalized in their own hallways. This isn't just about one neighbor or one chief. It's about all of us and the world we choose to accept.